June 6, 1944. The world holds its breath. In the pre-dawn darkness, the largest amphibious invasion in history begins. Operation Overlord, D-Day, the Allies' desperate gamble to liberate Europe from Nazi tyranny. But on one stretch of Normandy's coastline, a 5-mile strip of sand and cliffs known as Omaha Beach, the fate of the free world hangs by a thread. Here, in the bloodiest hour of D-Day, thousands of young men will face a nightmare of fire and steel, a crucible that will test the limits of human courage. This is the untold story of Omaha Beach, a tale of chaos, sacrifice, and heroism that history almost forgot. A story of ordinary soldiers thrust into extraordinary hell, of commanders who defied the odds, and of the moments, some buried in the sands of time, that turned the tide of the Second World War. Welcome to D-Day's darkest hour, where the cost of freedom was paid in blood. By early 1944, the Allies are racing against time. Nazi Germany, though battered, still grips Western Europe in an iron fist. Hitler's Atlantic Wall, a 2,400-mile fortress of concrete bunkers, mines, and machine guns, stretches from Norway to Spain, a terrifying barrier designed to repel any invasion. The Führer boasts it's impenetrable. But the Allies have a plan, a daring, all-or-nothing assault to breach this wall and drive a stake through the heart of the Third Reich. 5 beaches are targeted: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. The goal: secure a foothold in Normandy, then push inland to liberate France. It's a high-stakes mission. Failure could prolong the war for years, leaving millions more to perish under Nazi oppression. Omaha Beach, however, is the linchpin. Sandwiched between Utah and Gold, it's the most heavily defended of the 5 sectors, a killing ground meticulously prepared by the Germans. Towering cliffs, some 150 feet high, loom over a narrow strip of beach. Machine gun nests, artillery, and minefields create a gauntlet of death. The Germans know an invasion is coming. They just don't know where or when. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, has fortified the defenses, betting that if the Allies can be stopped at the water's edge, the invasion will collapse. For the men of the U.S., 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions, tasked with taking Omaha, the odds are staggering. Many are untested in battle. Teenagers and young men who've never fired a shot in anger. As their landing craft churn through the icy waters of the English Channel, they have no idea they're sailing into the deadliest hour of D-Day. What went wrong on Omaha Beach? Why did it become a slaughterhouse? And how did a handful of brave souls turn disaster into victory? Let's step onto those blood-soaked sands and uncover the truth. The road to Omaha Beach begins months earlier in the war rooms of London. Supreme Allied Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower faces a monumental task: coordinate an invasion involving over 156,000 troops, 5,000 ships, and 11,000 aircraft, all while keeping the operation a secret from the Germans. The Allies know the stakes. If D-Day fails, there may not be another chance. Hitler could reinforce his armies, prolonging the war indefinitely. The Soviet Union, bleeding on the Eastern Front, might collapse under the Nazi onslaught, leaving Germany free to focus on the West. Operation Overlord is a masterpiece of deception. The Allies launch Operation Fortitude, a massive disinformation campaign to convince the Germans the invasion will strike at Pas-de-Calais, the closest point to England, not Normandy. Fake radio traffic, inflatable tanks, and even a phantom army under General George Patton fool German intelligence. It works. Hitler keeps his elite panzer divisions north, far from Normandy, expecting the real invasion there. But the Allies underestimate Omaha Beach's defenses. Intelligence reports suggest the sector is held by the German 716th Infantry Division, a second-rate unit of conscripts and older men. What they don't know is that Rommel has recently moved in elements of the 352nd Infantry Division, battle-hardened veterans from the Eastern Front. These troops, dug into fortified positions, turn Omaha into a death trap. The plan for Omaha is ambitious but flawed. First, a massive naval and air bombardment will soften German defenses. 1,200 tons of bombs and 5,000 shells aimed at obliterating bunkers and gun emplacements. Then, at 0630 hours, the first wave of 1,450 American troops will hit the beach, supported by amphibious Sherman tanks and engineers to clear obstacles. Follow-up waves will secure the beach, scale the cliffs, and capture key exits, narrow draws leading inland to the villages of Vierville, Saint-Laurent, and Colville. By day's end, the Allies aim to control a beachhead 10 miles deep. It sounds good on paper, but reality is a different beast. Weather becomes the first enemy. On June 5th, a storm lashes the English Channel, with winds up to 20 knots and waves reaching 6 feet. Eisenhower nearly postpones the invasion, but a brief weather window on June 6th convinces him to proceed. The rough seas wreak havoc, landing craft bob like corks, and many soldiers, packed shoulder to shoulder, become seasick, vomiting into their helmets as they brace for the assault. The pre-invasion bombardment, meant to clear the way, fails spectacularly. Low clouds and poor visibility hamper Allied bombers. Most of the 1,200 tons of bombs fall inland, missing German defenses entirely. Naval shelling, limited to 40 minutes to avoid hitting friendly troops, barely dents the concrete bunkers. German machine gun nests, artillery, and barbed wire remain intact. Worse, the Germans are ready. Rommel's 352nd Division mans 85 machine guns, 38 artillery pieces, and 6 mortar pits across Omaha's 5-mile stretch. They've sown 4,000 mines and erected 2,000 obstacles, steel hedgehogs, wooden stakes, and barbed wire, to shred landing craft and trap soldiers in the open. At the top of the cliffs, wider stands Nest 62, a fortified strong point, commands the beach with a clear field of fire. Sergeant Heinrich Severloh, a 21-year-old German soldier stationed there, will later be dubbed the Beast of Omaha for the carnage he unleashes. The Allies are walking into a hornet's nest, and they don't even know it. As dawn breaks on June 6th, the first wave of landing craft approaches Omaha Beach. Inside, young men clutch their rifles, their faces pale with fear and determination. Private John Barnes of the 116th Infantry Regiment, part of the 29th Division, writes in his journal hours before the assault, "I don't know if I'll make it off that beach, but I'll fight like hell for my buddies." Barnes, like many others, is about to face a trial by fire unlike anything he could imagine. 0630 hours. The first wave hits Omaha Beach, and all hell breaks loose. As the ramps of the landing craft drop, German machine guns roar to life. Bullets tear through the air at 3,000 rounds per minute, cutting down soldiers before they can take a single step. The water, stained crimson, churns with the bodies of the fallen. Within minutes, entire platoons are wiped out. The rough seas have already taken a toll. Of the 32 amphibious Sherman tanks meant to support the infantry, 27 sink in the 6-foot waves, their crews drowning as the tanks flood. The few that reach the shore are quickly knocked out by German anti-tank guns. Engineers, tasked with clearing obstacles, are pinned down by relentless fire. Most of their explosives are lost in the surf. The beach becomes a choked graveyard of twisted metal and broken bodies. Private Charles Norman, a 19-year-old from Virginia, hits the beach with Company A of the 116th Infantry. His unit, part of the first wave, is decimated in seconds. Norman later recalled, "The ramp dropped, and it was like a wall of lead hit us. My best friend Tommy took a bullet to the chest before he could move. I crawled over his body, hearing screams all around me. Company A loses 91 of its 200 men in the first 10 minutes, annihilated before they can even fire a shot. German defenses are merciless. From Widerstands Nest 62, Sergeant Heinrich Severloh unleashes a hail of bullets from his MG-42 machine gun. Firing from a concrete bunker, he has a clear view of the beach below. Over the next 9 hours, Severloh will fire 12,000 rounds, killing or wounding an estimated 2,000 Americans, earning his grim nickname, the Beast of Omaha. A German artillery officer, Lieutenant Hans Müller, later wrote, "The Americans came in waves, straight into our guns. It was like shooting fish in a barrel." The beach offers no cover. Soldiers are exposed, caught between the sea and the cliffs, but amid the carnage, stories of unbelievable bravery emerge. First Lieutenant Jimmy Monteith, a 26-year-old officer with the 16th Infantry Regiment, lands with the second wave. Seeing his men pinned down, Monteith charges through a hail of bullets to rally them. He leads a squad to destroy a German machine gun nest, then exposes himself to enemy fire to direct a tank against another bunker. Monteith's actions save dozens of lives, but he pays the ultimate price. A sniper's bullet kills him as he waves his men forward. Monteith will posthumously receive the Medal of Honor, one of 4 awarded at Omaha Beach. Another unsung hero is Technician 5th Grade John Pinder, a radio operator with the 16th Infantry. Despite being wounded 3 times, Pinder refuses to stop. He drags vital radio equipment across the beach, ensuring his unit can communicate with command. Bleeding heavily, Pinder makes multiple trips through the kill zone, delivering the equipment before collapsing. He dies on the sand, his mission complete. Pinder, too, will be awarded the Medal of Honor. The first hour is a slaughter. By 0730 hours, over 1,000 Americans are dead or wounded. Bodies pile up at the waterline, some dragged back and forth by the tide. Survivors huddle behind the few obstacles still standing, shattered landing craft, burning tanks, and the corpses of their comrades. General Omar Bradley, watching from the USS Augusta offshore, considers abandoning Omaha entirely. He later wrote, "Every second I expected to see the beach swallowed by the sea. It was the closest we came to defeat." But defeat is not in the cards. Not yet. Amid the chaos, small acts of defiance begin to shift the tide. A young sergeant, Joseph Pinder, no relation to John, spies a gap in the German defenses near the E1 draw, a narrow path leading off the beach. Gathering a handful of men, he leads a desperate charge through a storm of bullets. They reach the base of the cliffs, the first Americans to do so. Pinder's group takes out a machine gun nest with grenades, opening a crack in the German line. Elsewhere, a forgotten story unfolds. Private Carlton Barrett, a 24-year-old medic with the 18th Infantry, braves the firestorm to save his comrades. Under constant machine gun fire, Barrett crawls across the beach, dragging wounded men to safety. He makes 15 trips, ignoring shrapnel tearing into his legs, until he collapses from exhaustion. Barrett's actions save 30 lives. He, too, will receive the Medal of Honor, though his story is rarely told. These acts of valor, though scattered, plant the seeds of hope, but the battle is far from over. The Germans still hold the high ground, and the Americans are trapped in a killing zone. Will they break through, or will Omaha Beach become their grave? 0730 hours. Omaha Beach is a charnel house. The first waves are decimated, and follow-up troops are bogged down in the surf. German artillery rains down 88mm shells, each explosion sending shrapnel tearing through flesh and bone. But the Allies have a secret weapon. Not a machine, but the sheer grit of their men. Leadership begins to emerge from the chaos. Colonel George Taylor, commander of the 16th Infantry Regiment, lands at 0800 hours. Seeing his men pinned down, he strides along the beach, bullets whipping past him, and bellows, "Two kinds of people are staying on this beach, the dead and those who are going to die. Now let's get the hell off it." Taylor's words ignite a fire in his troops. Small groups begin to move, inching toward the cliffs under murderous fire. Taylor personally leads a charge up the E3 draw, taking out a German strong point with a well-placed bazooka shot. His courage rallies the men. By 0900 hours, the first footholds are secured at the cliff base. At the same time, Navy destroyers offshore take a daring risk. Ships like the USS Karmic and USS Doyle close to within 1,000 yards of the beach, dangerously close to German artillery range. Their captains, defying orders to stay back, unleash a barrage of 5-inch shells directly into German bunkers. The destroyer fire is devastatingly accurate. One shell obliterates a pillbox at Widerstands Nest 62, killing 20 German defenders and silencing a key machine gun nest. The naval support gives the infantry a fighting chance. Rangers, elite American troops, play a pivotal role. The 2nd Ranger Battalion, tasked with scaling the cliffs at Pont du Hoc to destroy German artillery, finds the guns missing, moved inland by the Germans. But at Omaha, Rangers from the 5th Battalion join the fight. Led by Lieutenant Colonel Max Schneider, they target the D1 draw near Vierville. Using grappling hooks and ropes, they climb the 100-foot cliffs under fire, dodging grenades rolled down by German defenders. By 1000 hours, the Rangers secure the draw, opening a vital exit off the beach. Their success inspires others. Soon, small groups of infantry are climbing the cliffs at multiple points, outflanking the German defenses. Back on the beach, engineers finally clear paths through the minefields and obstacles. Corporal William Bill Henderson, a 22-year-old from Ohio, single-handedly blows up a section of barbed wire with a Bangalore torpedo, a long explosive tube, despite taking shrapnel to his arm. Henderson's breach allows a platoon to advance, and he waves them forward before collapsing. His sacrifice opens a critical path to the F1 draw, linking up with troops at the cliff top. By noon, the tide is turning, literally and figuratively. The rising tide forces the Germans to adjust their artillery, giving the Americans a brief respite. But the cost is unimaginable. By the end of the day, Omaha Beach claims over 2,400 American casualties, more than all other D-Day beaches combined. Entire units are shattered. The 116th Infantry Regiment alone loses 341 men in the first hour. Families back home will receive telegrams that begin, "The Secretary of War desires to express his deep regret." For every man who survives Omaha, another will carry the scars, physical and mental, for the rest of his life. A lesser-known tragedy unfolds in the aftermath. Dozens of wounded soldiers, left on the beach as medics struggle to keep up, drown as the tide rises. Private Robert Sales, a survivor of the 116th Infantry, later recalled, "I saw a boy, no older than 18, bleeding out in the sand. He begged for help, but the medics couldn't reach him. The water came in, and he was gone." I'll never forget his face. Yet, against all odds, Omaha Beach is secured by nightfall. The Germans, overwhelmed by the sheer tenacity of the Americans, begin to retreat. By 2200 hours, the Allies control a beachhead 2 miles deep, far short of the planned 10 miles, but enough to hold. The foothold at Omaha becomes the anchor for the Normandy campaign, ensuring the success of D-Day. But victory comes at a price that will echo through history. As the sun sets on June 6, 1944, Omaha Beach is a haunting tableau. Wrecked landing craft litter the shore. Burned-out tanks smolder in the sand, and the bodies of the fallen, over 1,000 American dead, lie where they fell, a testament to the ferocity of the fight. In the days that follow, the Allies bury their dead in temporary cemeteries above the cliffs. Many will later be moved to the Normandy American Cemetery, where 9,387 white crosses and stars of David now stand in silent tribute. Omaha Beach was the crucible of D-Day, the battle that nearly broke the invasion but ultimately ensured its success. The foothold gained here allowed the Allies to pour 326,000 troops, 50,000 vehicles, and 100,000 tons of supplies into Normandy by June 12th. Within weeks, they break out of the beachhead, liberating Paris by August and pushing into Germany by early 1945. The fall of Omaha Beach marks the beginning of the end for the Third Reich. But the legacy of Omaha is more than strategic. It's a story of the human spirit, of men who faced unthinkable odds and refused to break, of heroes like Jimmy Monteith, John Pinder, and Carlton Barrett, whose names should be etched in every history book but are too often overlooked, of the countless unnamed soldiers who fought not for glory, but for the man next to them. Omaha Beach also reveals the cost of war. The trauma of that day lingered for decades. Survivors like Robert Sales struggled with what we now call PTSD. Nightmares of the beach haunted them until their dying days. In 1988, Sales returned to Omaha for the first time since 1944. Standing on the cliffs, he wept, saying, "I didn't cry that day. I couldn't. But now, I can't stop. This place is sacred." The lessons of Omaha resonate even in 2025. As we face new conflicts and challenges, the courage of those young men reminds us what's worth fighting for. Freedom isn't free, it's paid for in the blood of those willing to stand against tyranny. Omaha Beach wasn't just a battle, it was a turning point for humanity. Omaha Beach was D-Day's darkest hour, but also its most heroic, a place where the fate of the world was decided by the bravery of a few. What do you think? Could the Allies have won without Omaha? What would our world look like if they'd failed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this untold story of courage and sacrifice gripped you, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for more epic tales. Next time, we'll uncover the hidden battles of the Pacific. Stories of valor you've never heard. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep exploring history with EpicWar, keep asking questions, and keep chasing the truth.